It's been almost 3.5 years since Marine A was convicted of murdering a wounded Afghan insurgent in Helmand province, a conviction which was last month reduced to manslaughter.
Just after midnight last night, Sergeant Alexander Blackman was released for time served. Let's speak to his defence barrister, Jonathan Goldberg, now, who joins us from our London studio. Very good morning to you. Thank you for your time this morning, Mr. Goldberg. Can you just tell us how Alexander Blackman is? Just update us on how he is at the moment.
He's a very happy man. His wife is a very happy wife, and the two of them are just such salt of the earth people that I'm sure you'll join me in congratulating them on this wonderful day.
Well, I'm assuming that for a time maybe they want some privacy. Can you tell us, what can you tell us about the plans for getting back to some, I don't know what the phrase is, some form of normality, or just resuming?
Well, they want obviously time for decompression, and they've gone to a country hideaway, and I'm not going to tell you where it is, and they're going to have a few days there, and I'm sure a good deal of champagne will be opened. Because bear in mind that in her 7 years married to Al, Claire has obviously not been with him for the 3.5 years of this awful prison term. And then he was about a year fighting overseas on many different battlefields, so she didn't see him then either. So it's been a marriage where they've been more apart than together. And therefore they want to have, you know, some downtime together, and then I've no doubt they'll meet the press perhaps the week after next.
Mr. Goldberg, obviously over this period of time you've got to know Alexander Blackman well. Clearly huge celebrations for the family as this verdict came through and he was finally released. Can you give us a sense though of where his thoughts are in relation to everything that's happened? Because clearly a terrible thing happened on a certain date and time and place. That did happen. That is a fact. What are his reflections on the sequence of events that ended up in him being convicted?
It's a complicated story, and in many ways not all of it has come out. But put yourself in his shoes. The Taliban had just shot up a little fortress just down the road. News was coming through on his headphones telling him that communications had been intercepted and they were about to shoot up another fortress 800 yards away, and he might be called upon to take his men any minute to help the base and to fight off the Taliban. And in those circumstances he's got a mortally wounded prisoner who, according to the pathologist I called on appeal, and there wasn't even one called at this lamentable court-martial, and the guy didn't have 15 minutes left of life in him anyway. So these were the kind of dilemmas facing him. We don't have time to go into them further today. But the gravest pill for him to swallow was the fact he was originally dismissed with disgrace from the armed forces. This is an exemplary soldier of 15 years service who's fought everywhere the British Army has fought in the last 15 years and who has killed personally over 30 enemies on the battlefield. So that was a grave pill to swallow. I'm happy to say that that has gone. The Court of Appeal removed that stigma, and he now gets all his pension entitlements and all the rest of it, and he can call himself Marine Sergeant Blackman until kingdom come, and that for him is a wonderful thing.
Well, many people will understand the nature and the tone of what you're saying in relation to how he and his family will be feeling now, but you will be well aware that there are those people who are still mindful that the manslaughter the conviction remains, and that something truly awful happened on that day. And possibly some people have voiced the idea that they're not terribly comfortable that notwithstanding the celebrations of the family and the battle that they've had to get to this point, that they feel a little uncomfortable about possibly him being held up as almost like a hero figure. You must be aware of that train of thought.
Well, this is obviously why the case is controversial. This is obviously why Hollywood want to make a film about it. I was there last week meeting some important people, and the idea is that Kate Winslet might be cast as Claire, Tom Hardy as Al, and can you believe it, Al Pacino as me, although I'm not sure he's good looking enough personally. But, you know, you pays your money and you takes your choice. If you're a left-wing, bleeding heart kind of individual, the idea of killing a terrorist who would have slaughtered you without compunction is a terrible thing. But I think the majority of right-thinking British people would say, you know, he had very little alternative in the appalling circumstances that confronted him at the moment of that split-second decision. Mr.
Goldberg, could I just ask you, given what you said about Alexander Blackman and how they want some time and they're trying to reconstruct their lives as a family, I mean, are they comfortable with the notion of this being turned into a movie and it's stepping into a whole different world? That feels in some senses the opposite of what you might imagine they would be wanting, or he might be wanting.
Well, all this is for discussion once they've had their time off together and we are able to have a meeting. But I think if the public want to know more about this case, and if filmmakers want to make a film, of course there have already been many documentaries, and if books are going to be written, and they will be written, about this extraordinary case, then good luck to them. And again, you're paid to be controversial and to be, you know, bleeding heart, but I'm sorry to say I think the majority of British people will take the view, darn good luck to them.
Okay, I'm not sure I entirely agree with the notion that we're paid to be controversial, but we just ask questions, that's the idea, and
I answer them.
You're free to answer them. Jonathan Goldberg, QC, who's been acting on behalf of Alexander Blackman, speaking to us.
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.